The HOA thought my rescue dog was their newest target. They sent threats, fines, and even demanded I remove the animal from my own ranch. What they didn't know was simple: I'm not a pushover. I'm a legal specialist with a history of dismantling bullies. And this time, the HOA picked the wrong owner. Asterisk, my ranch sits on 40 acres of open land, rolling hills, and an old cedarwood home that's seen more sunsets than the entire HOA combined. I bought this place for peace, long rides at dusk, the scent of hay in the wind, and the sound of nothing but nature. I never asked to be anywhere near an HOA, but a new luxury subdivision went up a mile down the road. And those folks brought their rules, their meetings, their community standards, and their endless desire to control every square inch within breathing distance. And then came ATLASA, blue-eyed rescue dog with scars across his ribs and a personality that could melt stone. I found him half-starved by the roadside near the canyon, ribs showing, limping, but still trying to wag his tail. A dog like that, you don't just take him home, you bring him into your heart. Atlas wasn't just a pet. He was family. 3 months after rescuing him, while fixing fencing near the barn, I heard the unmistakable sound of an SUV grinding up my gravel driveway. I turned to see a white Lexus with an HOA decal on the rear window. Great. The door opened and out stepped Margot Harrington, the HOA president, a woman who looked like someone replaced her blood with iced coffee and bylaws. Behind her were 2 board members, each holding a clipboard like it was a weapon. Mr. Raines, she called, striding toward me. We need to discuss your animal situation. My what? I tightened Atlas' harness. He sat beside me, calm but alert. That dog, she said, pointing as if Atlas were a loaded gun. He's been reported by who? I asked. Multiple homeowners, she said, lifting her chin. Your animal is? She checked her paper. A dangerous, aggressive breed and therefore violates the HOA's pet policy. I blinked, then laughed. I don't live in your HOA, she smiled, the way people smile when they're about to say something stupid. Double quotes. Well, your property borders the community. Visual disturbances still fall under our enforcement rights. Visual disturbances? I echoed. He breathes too loudly for your standards. Atlas leaned calmly against my leg. His fur was warm, steady. He was the gentlest creature I'd ever met. We have rules, she continued, and your dog violates Section 1-2 restricted canine breeds. I stared at her. You think I'm going to remove my rescue dog from my ranch because of a rule in a neighborhood I'm not part of? Yes, she said confidently, and if you don't comply, we will issue fines escalating up to $1,000 per day and pursue a lien. A laugh escaped me, not mocking, just genuine disbelief. Lady, I said, wiping my hands on my jeans. You picked the wrong ranch and the wrong dog. Margot sniffed. You've been warned. They turned around, climbed back into the Lexus, and drove off in a cloud of gravel. Atlas looked up at me. Well, buddy, I said, scratching his ears. Looks like we've been drafted into a war. Asterisk the next week. Letters started showing up, red-stamped envelopes, threatening language. Final notice typed in bold. Atlas and I sat on the porch while I read through them, one by one, sipping coffee and shaking my head. They claimed I had a banned breed. My dog caused fear among nearby residents. My ranch fell under sound and safety oversight. I owed $3,500 in fines. A lien was pending. They were bold. They were relentless. They were also completely, hilariously wrong. Because what they didn't know, what they couldn't have known, was that before moving out here, I spent 15 years as a property rights attorney specializing in HOA violations, land disputes, municipal overreach, and cases involving illegal HOA boundaries. I sued dozens of HOAs into dust. I'd rewritten covenants. I'd overturned wrongful fines. I'd even helped draft state-level statutes. And these people, these clipboard cowboys trying to boss me around, they were toddlers trying to play chess with a grandmaster. I pulled up land records, survey maps, county plat filings, then the clincher, a 1974 easement clause stating that my land was exempt from any future neighborhood covenants due to historical zoning. HOA legally had jurisdiction over exactly 0 inches of my property, which meant they couldn't find me. They couldn't classify my dog, they couldn't threaten a lien, and they couldn't enforce a single rule here. I drafted a letter professional, crisp, and devastating, that included their violation of state HOA law, citation of 3 court cases where similar HOA attempts failed a demand to cease communication, notice of harassment and intent to pursue civil damages if they contacted me. Addressed it to the HOA president, the board, and their attorney. But I didn't mail it yet. I wanted them to push harder, and did they? 2 days later, while feeding the horses, I heard yelling near the fence line. Margot and 2 board members stood outside my gate again, waving papers. Your dog was seen roaming, she shouted. I walked over. Atlas followed. He was on my land, I said, where dogs are allowed to roam. He barked at a resident. She snapped. He barked. I repeated. On a ranch, where animals exist. We have video proof. A board member added. I smiled. Fantastic. It'll help my case. Your case. Margot frowned. I finally opened the packet in my hand. This, I said, handing them copies, is a notice of legal action. You're harassing a landowner outside your jurisdiction. She scanned the first page. Color drained from her face. Next page, her lips trembled. Third page, her hand shook. This isn't correct, I finished. Accurate? Ironclad. She swallowed hard. I suggest? I continued. You read page 6, especially the part where I detail the personal liability board members carry for unlawful enforcement attempts. No one spoke. Then one board member whispered, Margot, what have you gotten us into? I didn't smile. I didn't need to. They left quietly. No threats, no barking orders. Nothing but the sound of defeat in their footsteps. The war wasn't over, but the tide had turned. Asterisk. The HOA attorney called me 3 days later. His voice was tense, shaky. Mr. Raines, he began. The board wishes to resolve this misunderstanding peacefully. That's funny, I replied, stroking Atlas' head. Your president seemed very confident about her authority. That was miscommunication? No, I corrected. It was harassment. He cleared his throat. What do you want? There it was, the surrender. I told him my 3 terms. 1. All harassment stops. Immediately, permanently. No letters. No threats, no visits, no fake fines. Point 2. A written apology to me and to Atlas. They targeted my dog. They could apologize to him too. 3. Margot resigns as HOA president. Effective immediately. The lawyer sputtered. That's unreasonable. It's non-negotiable. Silence stretched. I could almost hear him sweating. By the next morning, a package arrived, a signed apology letter, a board resolution acknowledging they had no authority over my ranch, and a resignation form for Margot. Signed with a trembling hand, the letter to Atlas written by the board secretary was the best part. To Atlas, we apologize for mischaracterizing you as dangerous. You are a valued canine member of our community. I framed it, hung it right above his water bowl. A week later, I rode into town for feed. Another SUV pulled up beside me, a familiar white Lexus. The new HOA president stepped out. Mr. Raines, he said nervously, I just want to assure you, we won't be bothering you ever again. Atlas sat proudly in the passenger seat of my truck, staring regally at the man. You're fine, I said. Just keep your people on their side of the fence. He nodded quickly and drove off. I looked over at Atlas. He rested his head on my arm. Content. See that? I said. Told you I'd handle it. Atlas thumped his tail once. And for the first time in months, the ranch was quiet again. Nothing but the rustling prairie grass, the distant lowing of cattle, and one happy rescue dog stretched out beside me, safe and home for good. Asterisk.